Thank you so much, Brother Vince. Really appreciate that nice introduction. Well, as Brother Vince mentioned, I am a CSUDH alum and an MSA alum, class of 2015. Um, and, it's been a lot of growth that has taken place while I was still at CSUDH and ever since I graduated from CSUDH. But MSA was very instrumental in that evolution, and yeah, I'm just grateful. I currently work for an organization called the Hispanic Scholarship Fund. I am a technical business analyst in the IT department there, and just to summarize what I do for the most part, I am responsible for helping all things IT in terms of helping with business functions. While I was at Cal State Dominguez Hills, I majored in computer technology. And so it's very rewarding that I get to apply the knowledge that I acquired in school in the workforce. So speaking of that whole evolution and that whole journey, before I got to college, I would say as a kid, education was something that was always instilled in me. That my father, he's an immigrant. Well, he immigrated from Nigeria in I believe, the 80s, and coming to the United States with the intent to acquire an education himself, I got to see the power of education. I got to see that, yes, it really can change your life. It can really empower you to do great things. So growing up, for me, to be honest, it was never a question of would I go to college? It was just a matter of when and where. But one of the most important questions that I always had to ask myself prior to getting to college was, why do I want to go to college? Like, why, what for? And that wasn't to say that an education wasn't important to me or I didn't see the value in it, but it was just more so I felt like a lot of people put emphasis on the word success, and success isn't always necessarily in one facet. For me, I saw it as, well, I can take an entrepreneur route. I can just go to the workforce. But one thing that my dad helped me to accomplish as far as my academic journey was, he always reminded me that at the end of the day, no knowledge is a waste. No knowledge is a waste. And also, if your own dreams and aspirations and endeavors don't work out, you always have your education to fall back on. So I arrived at Cal State Dominguez Hills after transferring from Long Beach City College. And when I got to Dominguez Hills, I realized that my goal wasn't to just get to college and get through college. It was more so to make sure that I took advantage of all of the experiences that I could while I was in college, because being at college is a school within itself, meaning you learn things experientially by just being there. And I would say the other most important thing that I learned by being in college was, just because you go to school and you get a degree does not necessarily mean that you are educated. So for me, it was more about learning how to learn, if that makes sense. So in terms of how I got through college, I always had to remind myself and put a good emphasis on the empowerment that could come through acquiring an education. But once again, I had all these aspirations. For me, I come from a musical background. I wanted to go off and be in the music industry and do all these cool things, be an entrepreneur. And by attending school, it just equipped me with more knowledge to know how to navigate all of these things. And in terms of how I transitioned into the workforce, given that I majored in computer technology and also attending college, college is all about structure. It's all about structure. It's all about routine. It's about, following a plan. And I feel by going to college, it enabled me to be ahead of the curve in comparison to other people that might not have taken a traditional route into the workforce. Because when you're in school, you have projects, you have deadlines, and so on and so forth. It's no different in the workforce. So I would say college definitely prepared me for that, and I'm just so grateful. Also, one other thing I just want to add, lastly, in terms of navigating my way through college, one of the most important things is the environment. You need to surround yourself around people that are like-minded, or even if they're not necessarily on the same path as you, have similar traits of drive and aspirations. And I would say that is one of the most important takeaways that I got from being in college, because I found this beautiful organization, MSA. Exactly as I mentioned, not all of my brothers are in the same industry as me, but we all share the same drive. We all share similar values. So yeah, but that's a little bit about me. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Gabe. That was awesome. I appreciate the finger snaps from Rob there. Yeah, I'll do some of that myself. Appreciate you. All right, now it's time for Albert to share his story of glory.
Definitely. So yeah, my full name is Alberto Ornelas Jr. Family to immigrant parents from Jalisco and Tabasco, Mexico. Currently reside in East LA. I've been living in East LA, same house, same neighborhood, same people all my life. But I think my journey starts when my parents met. They both immigrated from Mexico in order to find something better from their lives, right? They met during night school, out of all places. And my mother always told me stories of, I hated your dad when I first met him. He was so this, he was so that, like he was charming to other women and stuff too. Like my dad was a player when he came to the US, right? Not a player, but like he attracted women, I guess you could say. And my mom always said, man, but he had this drive, right? That's what really attracted women to him. That's what really attracted other people that didn't even know him. The drive, the passion when he talked. He worked extra, right? He was working 2 jobs at the time when he met my mother, at the same time going to night school, at the same time being top of his class in that night school, right? So my dad learned English like in and out. And that's something I always carry with me, right? Like that's something I always looked up to, like my dad. I had a rocky relationship with him, like when I was younger, right? When I was maybe like 13, 14, entering middle school, I think before that point, I had a great life, right? Like I was a good kid. I had all my birthdays celebrated and all that stuff. But I just stepped into a space, like a mental space. I was just angry all the time, right? Where, gangs, drugs, anything in the environment within East LA kind of just affected me. It fell into my lap, right? And that was something new for my parents too. Like they didn't know what gangs were. They didn't know what, like cholos and East LA were. They're from Mexico, right? They all they had to experience was poverty and, the uphill battle of wealth. So when they came to this country, they didn't know how to deal with it. And obviously I didn't know how to deal with it as a kid. And, I was just getting into fights, getting suspended. I've gotten arrested for stupid things as a kid. But I think that really shows me, why this environment is a beautiful place, but also a scary place for young men of color, right? And that's something where, now that I'm working with like students, I've been working with students within similar environments, I've been noticing, right? You can't look at a student just for their negatives or their achievements. There's good and bad to every person. Every person has a journey, and you can't expect people within that journey to just stop and change. It's a long life cycle. It's a learning cycle. It's really something that you got to work towards. So yeah, like I was saying, in middle school, it was really for me a place of just not understanding myself, not understanding my community, not understanding my parents. I really looked at being a man as having power. People fearing me, people, looking at me some way where they just don't want to look at me as a kid. But I mean, because of that, I also like got jumped at school. I got jumped in front of my parents. Like I had been followed home, all that stuff. So it's just getting tiring to a point, as a 15-year-old kid, like, I was living like I didn't care about life, So I think around age 14, 13, my dad just decided, you know what, like, you're not good at school. Like, you got to do something else. Like, you got to work, you got to work. So my dad was like, you know what, you're going to be going to school. I obviously can't drop you out, but if you leave in school and all this, you're gonna have to start working. So my dad put me in a butcher shop, slaughterhouse. Like I hated it. I still hate it to this day. I just quit that job after 10 years, working at that same spot. I think it really was a learning experience for me. Also like a lifelong lesson that my dad just implanted in me. Learning how to navigate spaces where, communities like East LA is all Hispanic, right? I've never seen a black person or white person in East LA till now, due to gentrification. But back in the day, I didn't have no communication with black people, Asian people, white people, or etc. Right? Going into that butcher shop, it was a mixture of black people, Ethiopian people, Belizean people, different cultures, like that I've never really interacted with. So it just taught me a lot about the grind. And going into high school, my mindset is really changing. I felt like I was already an old man going into high school because I went through so much. So I was just like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of it. I mean, it obviously followed me in high school because I stayed in East LA. But I really slowly but surely, with the guidance of people, teachers, counselors, and other people, they really put me on track slowly but surely. So I graduated high school, by a miracle, to be honest, like a 2 point something GPA. And then, I was like, what now? What now? Like I have a job, it's paying all right. I could get another job, some construction job, some other related job, maybe as a manager. I've been doing this for years. I'm bilingual and everything. But my parents are like, college, 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 college. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. Go to college. Like, if you're not gonna live here rent free unless you go to college. And I'm, damn, college it is. So like, college it is. So I was like, I had to really think to myself, like, do I want to stay in my community and risk, falling back into a lifestyle that I didn't really identify with anymore, right? Connections that still followed me, habits that still followed me. And I was just like, nah, I need to get out. I need to explore. I need to challenge myself. I need to put myself in a different headspace. So I decided to go as far as possible, humanly possible. I went to Pasadena City College. I didn't have a car at the time. I didn't have anything at the time, just my money for bus and to eat. So I would take a 2-hour bus ride all the way to Pasadena. I felt like a token minority there. All my friends are, Asian, white, and there was another Hispanic. It's probably because they also felt the same way. And that resonates with me because it's a powerful experience to really have the negative side and the positive side of that, right? The exposure of it. I remember my first year going in there, I was still, dressing like, like, I guess you could say like a gang member and stuff, I was still wearing like, shorts that were Dickies and khakis and, the common clothing, at the time. And I remember I was in an engineering class because that's what I wanted to major in. But I sucked at math. It wasn't something for me. Math is like, it's too much. And one brother next to me was saying, I thought he was a brother to me at the time till like later on in the semester. I was like, damn, people really think of me like that. He's like, you know what, Alberto? Man, we were having lunch, all of us, and he was just like, you know what, Alberto? You're not like other Mexicans, man. Like you're not like, you know what I mean? You're not like the other Mexicans, you know what I mean? Like you're not brown, you don't talk this certain way, you don't get mad, nah. And it was just like all these stereotypes he was putting forward. And I was like, okay, I know he didn't mean that, in my head, I was like, he didn't mean that in that way, but damn, like people really think of us that way, that's something we're experiencing in higher educational spaces, so I was just like, that really motivated me. Ever since that day, I was just like hungry, things like prove everybody wrong and all that. So I went on, graduated, got my AA, my AS, and then, the decision after that was going to Dominguez Hills, another space that I wanted to get like intact with because I want to be exposed to something else. I didn't want to go traditional route and go CSU LA. The same people are there that I grew up with, right? And damn, CSUDH was the best decision I ever made, right? MSA has really like provided a space for me to be myself, improve my leadership skills, refine myself as a person, and also provide for the community, right? And I'm proud to say, like, MSA, I'm a product of MSA, as well as my community and the bad things and the great things that I've done for my community. So I carry that with me, right? That's part of my history. It's part of my painting, I guess, in life. So now that I'm graduating as a senior and, law school's approaching, ahead of me, I'm in a fellowship for, at a Loyola State, Loyola Marymount. university called LEAP, Legal Education Access Pipeline, right? And what they really provide is a space for people like me, people who have had adversity over the years, and minorities, and are still struggling with the same battles that they've had for years, to really overachieve and use the skills that are already acquired and perfect them for the future and become future lawyers. And it's something to me that I never thought like 10 years ago I would be a space in. So I think the most important thing to take away from, like, I guess my experience, I would tell to a younger me, or students that I work with, is really look at what you want in the future. Present day might be the hardest time at the moment, especially right now during COVID. Conversations are like, I'm tired, I'm burnt out, school isn't for me, all that. But think of the future. You are that painter of your own picture. You have the brush. That brush will be decisions. That brush will be mindsets that you put yourself into. Don't let other people paint your picture. So yeah, that's my part.
All right, and we definitely gonna snap it up for that. Appreciate that, brother Alberto. And now we're gonna move on to and pass the mic over to brother Robert Cunningham.
Thank you. Good brothers. Those were amazing stories. I really do appreciate y'all for sharing. Before I tell my story, can you what you call it? Hear me pretty well? Yeah, it's good. Alrighty, that sounds all good to me. All right, so like my great brother Vince had said, my name is Robert Cunningham. A little bit about me. I was born in North Miami-Dade, Florida. Not the Florida man side of Florida, but like the the cool side of Florida. I lived there for 12 years, and I moved here to South Central Los Angeles, California, when I was, I guess, like 12 and a half, going on to 13. I feel like I grew the most mentally and emotionally, the most in Los Angeles. And to tell you the truth, like, this place will, like, always, like, like, have a significant part of my heart. Um, for the most part, when I had got here, I was completely unaware of the culture and the love, that's inside of Los Angeles. The most I had, like, learned about South Central was like what I like seeing inside the movies and whatnot. Like, what you call it? Boys in the Hood, menace to society. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna be in trouble when I get down there. But like, it's not at all that bad, yeah, but for the most part, I had learned that it wasn't at all that bad. And I also learned that, like, although, like, our, like, like, journeys and, like, paths, or like, are like significantly different, I strongly feel like everybody is, like, trying to get to the same place, um which is to be successful, and to how to say this, is to be successful and to be loved, like, by the people around them, for the most part. So like although our, like, journeys are, like, different, our destination is all the same, for the most part, for me at least. I don't know about y'all. But so I went to a high school at this beautiful school called Animo South Los Angeles Charter High School. And for the most part, I think that's, like, where I like there was, like, so much I had, like, I picked up from there, like, for example, I, I'm not gonna lie, like, I only, like, knew about Cuban and Mexican, like, that's all, like, I knew about, for the most part. But when I got to, like, South Central, there's there's Cuban, Mexican, Guatemalan, Salvadoran, Honduran. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's, like, it's not just as, like, like, simple and plain as just, okay, like, black, white, Chinese, and, a Mexican. Like, like there's like, you know, like so like there's so many different kinds of people, you know, like and the skin color doesn't, doesn't, like sum it all up, you know. So after I graduated high school, I came straight to Dominguez Hills as a freshman in the fall of 2018, with a major of business marketing. Um, that same semester, I joined the Mass Success Alliance, and I've been loving it, like ever since, of course. And I chose Dominguez because, for one, it was the first school to respond back to me and show me my financial aid. At the time, my dream school was Sacramento State, and Sacramento was straight tripping, man. Like they wouldn't show me $1 until I had committed to going to the school. And I felt like that was equivalent to marrying somebody like who you never met before, like that's just kind of goofy. So I'm like, nah, I'll go, to Dominguez. Um, and plus it's like 10 minutes down the street as well. So, it works out perfectly for me. Um, I'm not the first to attend college in my family, but when I graduate, I'll be one of the few that have graduated from a university. Um, so like I said, when I came to Dominguez, my major was business marketing, and I'm like Alberto. I'm not that spicy with numbers. um, Business marketing is very number orientated. Like it, it's basically like just business. Like you have to learn accounting, economics, and like all this other stuff. And I think maybe about 5 classes for that major, and every class I walked out of, I can't tell from it except yeah, no, I don't. It's drawing a blank. But so so since I wanted to focus on advertising, which is why, I wanted to be a business marketing major, I decided to look for a different major, one that was less number, orientated. And I ended up picking up on public relations and advertising. Um and I started this major since, I think, um the semester after COVID had hit. So that was fall 2020, I think it was. Was it fall 2020? Yeah. It was fall 20. Dang, it's spring 2021. But but every class I've taken since then has, like, I've walked out of every class like with the skill. Like every single class I walked out with the skill. Um and and that's the most important part to me, because I feel like, like a, a good grade in a class, like that's that that's fantastic and all, but overall, like, if you haven't learned anything, then you really didn't pass the class. That's just how I felt about it. So I'm a public relations and advertising major now, much less number orientated. My full semester being a PR major, I've only encountered like math like once, but it's like it's easy peasy, man. It's easy peasy. But overall, I would say I'm in a much better um headspace, I guess I could say. And yeah, but um although I'm inside of like a better major, I wanted to do something where I can express my voice, basically, and it was I think the fall of 2019. um I started to write um poetry and whatnot. I started to write, and one of the reasons why I chose to kind of, I guess, like give like my time and my like space and my energy toward poetry is because I strongly feel like it's a lot of people who are like scared to feel, and I wanted to kind of like eliminate like that like fear, like I want to like show like the people that look like us that it's okay to feel, like it's okay like to to have like emotions basically. Because I remember when I like first came down here, um when I would like talk about my dreams and whatnot, they'd be like, maybe I don't care about your dreams, bro. I'm like, wow, dang, like that cold world. Like it was just like a lack of sympathy and empathy and like care and like love inside of like the spaces where I was in. So like that was just one of the things that like I was trying to change with my poetry. And I would say like I did a pretty good job for the most part. I just released my second poetry book on the 26th of March, and that's going pretty well. So, yeah. So I'm doing pretty spicy, I guess I could say. Shout out to the MSA too, because that is like that's an alliance of like brothers like who are not afraid to feel, like who are like they're genuine, authentic, empathetic, every fantastic superlative there is to like to be had, that's the MSA. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's basically my story.
that's awesome. We all so thank you, brothers, for sharing your stories. We know that different parts of your stories resonated with different people. And so once again, thank you for sharing your stories. You guys have overcome a lot and are doing big things. And I know there's just even bigger things to come in your future. Having said that, we're gonna open up for a panel now, and I'm gonna ask you all a question, and I'll have you answer the question in the order that you spoke initially. So first it'll be Gabe, then Alberto, and then Robert. So first question is, and I'm going to key off of something that Robert just talked about. How can you talk about the importance of support systems, and particularly how MSA has helped support you?
Awesome. Not to sound cliche when I say this, but the phrase teamwork makes the dream work. That is very true, very real. My dad always told me this as a kid, or even he still tells me this now: no man is an island. So you definitely need to immerse yourself in an environment that wants to see you win, wants to see you grow, and also wants to play a part in your growth, because there are people that, or there are environments where you'll be in and they're not hindering your progress, but they're not promoting it either. It's just kind of like, well, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, versus where, for me, the best analogy I like to use is I look for running mates, meaning we're all running in the same direction. Our destination might end up being different. Like along the way, you might stop on that corner of that street and I might keep going, but we're all headed in the same direction. So to answer your question, it's imperative. You definitely have to be in a supportive environment, because you won't always feel motivated. You won't always feel encouraged. But when you're around people that are like-minded or that are just as hungry as you, it rubs off on you. So it is imperative.
All right, Alberto, same question.
Yeah, similar to what Gabriel was saying. I mean, yeah, it's imperative, it's vital, it's critical to the success in your college journey, right? I've always was one to just do things on my own, which are doing good enough, right? But I think it's finding a support system that has, like Gabriel was saying, a like-minded ideology, philosophy, doing great in life and school and self is really empowering, right? Like is any person I could pick out of MSA. You know, if it's Vince, you know, he's done a bunch of referrals for me and references for me, getting into spaces I want to be. It could be Gerardo, you know, he's always been the support system for me offline. Leo, he's taught me so much, you know. But there's individual brothers, every time I see him, you know, that they just brighten up my day, just by saying what's up, you know, just by saying, hey, how you doing, brother? You know, all right, stay up. You know, when you're surrounded by so much positivity, so much knowledge, so much passion, it will rub off on you. And that's for life, right? If you keep that consistent.
Great. All right. And then Robert.
Completely agree for the most part. I feel like we're like all like how to say this. I feel like we're like all like children for the most part, you know, and I feel like like it takes a village to raise a child, you know, like although okay, like not biologically, like we aren't like like children and whatnot, but like like mentally compared to somebody else, like we like have like so much to learn, like just like a child sometimes, and I feel like the MSA is the village, like we're all like kind of like like raising each other, so just like my brothers had said, like I feel like it's extremely important, like to have a support team, because like Rome wasn't built in a day, but it also wasn't built by just one person, it was a group of people to make like something like as great as what it is. So yeah.
All right, phenomenal. So I'm going to ask you brothers 2 more questions. Keep the knowledge coming. Keep dropping those knowledge bombs. The second question is, you all shared your stories and shared about your personal journeys. Can you share, what advice would you give, if you could go back into the past, what advice would you give your younger self? Maybe your younger middle school self, maybe your younger high school self. What would you tell yourself? What advice would you give yourself?
Boy. Well, I would say, for me, I would say the advice I would give my younger self would be to always stay true to yourself, meaning don't follow trends. Don't do things because that's what everybody else is doing. And that goes for anything, both in your career, in your own personal development, whatever the case may be. Because, for instance, I'll give you a prime example. When I started my college journey, my dad tried to encourage me to do nursing. And I took a couple of nursing courses, and I was like, this isn't for me, man. Like, I'm not feeling it. But it was a trend. Like, everybody and their mom was like, oh yeah, nursing is where it's at. It's a rewarding career. But it took a while, it took trial and error to kind of discover what resonated with me. But what I ended up doing now, which is I'm in technology, I feel like that was always something that was true to myself. I've always been fascinated by technology and all that stuff. So I would just say, stay true to yourself. Don't allow yourself to be influenced by trends, essentially. That's my advice.
All right, to thine own self be true. That's what Shakespeare said. That's how he said it. All right, Alberto, you're up.
Yeah, I think it's just, as a young person, I think the biggest flaw I had was not listening, right, to people that were older than me, that been there before me, everything. I would hear them, but I wasn't listening, right? That's something different. Like, you could hear something going in your ears, but are you really listening to what's being told? And I think it's, taking that wisdom from people that are older than you, taking that knowledge that is bestowed upon you and really taking it in, acknowledging it that's there, all the advice that's given to you. Apart from that, I think also being fearless, right? Being yourself, being proud of who you are. Every warrior's got his scars, right? It is what it is. Every bad decision, great decision has led you to this moment in your life. And if you keep, living your life and knowing who you are, you're going to do great no matter what.
Awesome.
Dang, man, y'all here just showing up, huh? I appreciate y'all. For me, I would tell my younger self, don't let fear control your life, basically. I feel like for me personally, I procrastinate like a lot, Um, but like the reason why I procrastinate is not because like, oh, I don't really feel like doing it right now. I'll do it later. I'm kind of tired right now. I procrastinate because like I'm just kind of like scared that like I won't do my best. And like that's something I'm working on right now. Like if I like see something that I want to do, like like I just get up and I get it done. Um, but like when I was in middle school and and transitioning into high school as well, like I was like scared that like I would fail. And so like that would like lead to me like not doing a lot of things that I wanted to do. Like I wanted to get my license when I was 16, but I was always like, like I was always like kind of like scared that I wouldn't pass my tests. So like I never did it, and I just gone to the DMV on the first of the month, like like it's just, like if you like feel like passionately about something, just get up and do it, like don't like let like like fear control you, basically.
All right. All right. So we're going to come in for a landing here. We got one last question. And that question is, so this breakout session is targeted at young men of color. And so you just gave us the advice you would give your younger self. What advice do you have for young men of color who are striving to reach their potential?
Man. Well, it's funny because my thoughts on that kind of ties into my previous answer, which is essentially, staying true to yourself. Have a, I wrote it down here actually, have a true and unapologetic sense of self. And I feel like, man, it's really hard to really, own your sense of self because from the moment we're born, we're kind of indoctrinated just by society and at large, from, the time you were a kid, from what you were exposed to, the schools you went to, the values that were instilled upon you. So it can become challenging to really know who you really are. But I would say, as a man of color, I think that where our power and our strength lies is being able to really search within ourselves and just resonate with whoever we are as an individual and just own that and operate in that. For instance, just to give an example of what I'm referring to is I'm of Nigerian descent, and being a first generation Nigerian African American male in this country, I'm dealing with discrimination on all kinds of levels outside of my community, even within my community. Oh, you're Black, but you're not Black. You're African. Or you're African, but you're not, oh, you weren't born on the continent, so on and so forth. But I reached a point within myself where I just owned my identity and said, I'm the best of both worlds. I am Nigerian American, and I take pride in that. And I realized that a lot of my grit, a lot of my drive comes from that ability to identify with both sides of my heritage, and therefore I move with authority. I don't have to apologize for who I am to anybody. I own it. So I think there's a lot of power in that, just having a true, unapologetic sense of self.
To thine own self be true. All right, Alberto.
Yeah, I guess just to piggyback off what Gabriel said, it's kind of similar, right? Knowing thyself is like super important. But also recognizing who puts you in that position, right? Look at your parents, look at your grandparents. think of the history behind that. Think of your ancestors, think of what everything has led up to this moment for you being alive and achieving the goals you wanted to achieve, right? People think of the future, people think of self, but I wouldn't be here without my dad and my mom, for sure. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my grandma, my grandpa's experiences too. Like, it was my uncles, my nieces, all that, attribute to the tribe, like the family that you have. So, really think of things as, if you're gonna do bad, you're not only gonna, mess your life, but you're gonna mess other people's lives, right? You're gonna mess your tribe's heritage, I guess you could say. But if you're gonna do good, it's generational. One day that someone's gonna attribute to that, someone's gonna benefit from that. So recognizing self and recognizing others around you that will be affected with your decisions. So it's really important.
Right.
Dang. So I definitely want to tie into what both my brothers had said. Like knowing yourself and like doing what's best for you and those around you. The other day, I heard a quote. I forgot who said it, but he had said that sometimes you have to plant a tree and just know that you might not be able to take off this tree in this lifetime, but the people who come, like after you, like your kids might be able to take off the tree, or even, like they might not even be able to take off the tree, but their kids can take off the tree, so like, like to the generational stuff, that you were talking about, like it's important, like to do stuff, like that'll like matter tomorrow, like even if like you were like to go today, like like your, how to say this, what you do isn't dependent on you being there or not, like the things that you leave behind can like still thrive and like prosper even if you aren't there anymore. So like to do things, like like just do things that'll matter tomorrow, basically.
Love it, love it. And that reminds me of a Japanese proverb which says, the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is right now, right? And so that those who come behind you can benefit from that. So we appreciate that. We are grateful for you, brothers. Thank you, Brother Gabe, Brother Alberto, Brother Robert, for sharing your journeys. They've been inspiring. I know we're going to inspire. They've inspired me today. I know they're going to inspire many going forward. And because we are a multicultural space, a very inclusive space, I just shared a Japanese proverb. I'm going to close with an African proverb, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Appreciate you, brothers. Thank you for being a part of our If We Can Do It, So Can You breakout session.